Hey everyone, this is Kyle with the Brickdose Security, and today we're continuing on the Hack the Box Starting Point series with the Oopsie box. Let's get going. Alright, so I got a box up and running here. I'm going to grab our IP address, hop right into Kali here, and I'm going to do sudo nmap, put in our IP address, do a -sv for version number, and a -sc to do a default script search. I'm going to let this run real quick, and I'll get back to you in a second. So it looks like we got a couple of ports open here. We have port 22 for SSH as well as port 80 for a web page on HTTP. Let's go ahead and open up Firefox here and let's see what is on that web page. Let's paste in our IP address, let that load, and we have a Megacorp Automotive, bringing eco system, EVs, robust design, and a couple of pages that we can go ahead and try and follow. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Burp Suite here just because I want to see what we can capture while we're within this web page. All right, so now I got Burp Suite up and running here. So let's jump back into Firefox. Let me bring down my camera a bit so you can take a look. And if we go into Foxy Proxy here that we've downloaded before, I have a proxy for Burp Suite that will send all of my traffic that is used in my web interface of Firefox over to Burp Suite and have that captured. If we want to take a look at the options, if you don't have this set up, if I press edit on my burp, you can see that we have traffic for HTTP sent over 127.0.0.1. That is your standard loopback for everything that is within your own interface, and sent over to port 8080 as a standard for Burp Suite. Press cancel on that. So I'm going to close all this down, and when I open Foxy Proxy here, click on burp. And we go over to burp. If I go into proxy and HTTP history, we can see that we have nothing. But if I go into our web page, press refresh, let this refresh one time, we can see that we are actually getting traffic from our web interface right here. And this is that page. If I scroll down enough, we should see some familiar language after we get past the CSS of the Megacorp Automotive on that web page that we are in. If I go over to Target, we can see that we have our web page as well as some of the different things that Burp Suite was able to crawl just by having the web page launched. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is take a look at some of the pages that Burp Suite was able to find. And one thing that's interesting here, when you click on the drop down for the CDN-CGI, there is actually a login page right here. It has a specific script that it was able to find, but I think if we go ahead and copy over this cdn-cgi/login, go back in to our web page here, paste that in, press enter, and we can see that we are actually able to get into the hidden login page for this automotive website. So the next thing that we might want to do here is try a couple of the default credential logins. So we can do things like admin, no good. I'll say never save for this website. Let's do, how about administrator? Let's try administrator password. And it doesn't look like, we could keep trying this all day, and I don't necessarily think that we're going to be able to find any of those default credentialed users. We can look online to see if there's anything specific for this website build, but it looks like this is something custom. So there's not going to be any open exploits because this is probably a website that was made in-house. But there is one thing that is interesting that we can locate here, and that is this login as guest. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and we can just log directly into this website as a guest user. Now that we're logged in as a guest, why don't we go ahead and start clicking around, see what's here. We can click on accounts. We can see that we are the guest account and we have access ID of this. There's our email, maybe branding. There's the price of a car. Clients, is there anything interesting? Well, we have the client email. I'm assuming that may just be for our guests necessarily. And then our uploads page. But this is interesting because it's going to require super admin rights in order to be able to actually upload. This is a good protection from them on their own system. So we need to try to figure out a way if we can get super admin rights so we can actually upload something from our own device to see if maybe we can get a little more access into this website. Now, one powerful tool that often isn't considered as much is being able to do what you can do inside of the browser itself. If we right click on this page and do inspect, it'll bring up everything on this page as far as like what's actually presented within the HTML. If we go over to the storage section though, we can see that on the cookie side, we have the names of 2 different cookies, as well as the value as to what those are, and so on and so forth. And what's interesting that we may want to try to do is give a different value for our role and or the user ID value. Now, we don't necessarily have enough information as to what this may be for a value change that would be beneficial on our end. But if we go back and we can remember on our specific account, we can see that we have an account ID equaling number 2. So if our guest ID account number is number 2, maybe we can make some inferences as to what other value could possibly be available, such as maybe ID account number 1. Press enter on that, and there it is. There is our name as admin, and we have access ID of 34322. Now, this is something called information disclosure, because as a normal user, we should not be able to see different accounts as a guest or non-user of this specific account. This can also be referred to as horizontal escalation, as we are now able to see different users just from our own standard login. But because we are actually given admin rights, we also have tailed in some kind of vertical escalation as well. Now, what we're going to want to do is make note as to the name of the account, which is admin, all lowercase, as well as the access ID of 34322. So now let's go back into the upload section. And if we remember, we are able to inspect our page, go back to our cookies, and there is our cookie values of guest and user. Why don't we change our cookie values here and make our value from role to admin. And then we need to change our user value to 34322. Press enter on those, and then we can go ahead and try to reload this page. And there we have been given access as admin, and now we are actually able to upload something within our web page. Now, one thing I want to make note here is within this web page, we see that it is a .php. So we can assume that if we were to upload some kind of PHP web shell, maybe we can get access into this system. I'm going to open up another tab here, and I'm going to type in rev shells. Now, if you ever get a screen like this because you have not actually gotten the PortSwigger certificate authority or certificate for allowing you to be trusted within Firefox, you can download that certificate and that will allow you to be trusted on here. In order to do that, you can just type in 127.0.0.1 and then put in the port of 8080 for Burp Suite while you have it listening within Foxy Proxy. Press enter, and if I move my camera right here, you can see the CA certificate. You can actually download that directly, and then you should be able to get access using that certificate. Add this into Firefox as a trusted certificate, and you should no longer see that prompt. To actually add a certificate in Firefox, you just go to the tabs here, go into settings, go down to privacy and security, scroll down until you see the certificates tab right here. Press view certificates. You can actually import one, and within your downloads folder you should have the kakert.dir. That's the certificate you're going to add. You're going to trust this, press OK, OK one more time, and then we can close everything down. Now if we go ahead and refresh, you should no longer have that certificate error within Firefox. Now that we have Google actually working for us, we trust our certificates, we can go to revshells.com, and this is going to be our shell generator that we're going to use. It has all sorts of different cool techniques, and all we need to do is actually assign our IP and port. That is something that's going to be super easy. I'm going to open up another tab here, do an if config, and what we're going to use is going to be the ton0, as this is what is connecting back to Hack the Box. So let's put in that IP address. That is our own personal one. And the port's going to be whatever we customize it as. I typically like to just use port 1337 as my favorite. Scroll down, and what we're going to be looking for is something within PHP, as that is what is being used within the web page. If we go right here to PHP Test Monkey, this is something I've used many times within my pen test, something that is pretty standard and often used just as a testing ground to see if PHP is available for a reverse shell. So once you put in your IP address and your port, you're going to go down to the bottom here. You're going to just press copy, and we're going to create a file, and we're just going to call this shell.php. Press enter, paste that directly in, close that out. And now we have our shell.php that we can actually upload onto our web page. So let's go back into Firefox, go back to our admin panel, and we're going to upload our newly created reverse shell that we just made with PHP. Let's go ahead and upload our shell. Let's just call this shell.php. We can keep it the same that we have in here. Go to browse, let's go home. There's our shell.php. And we'll click upload, and we see that the file shell.php has been uploaded. Now the question is just going to be, where is this upload location at? Are we going to be able to go in and actually access that? To do that, we can do a little directory enumeration using a tool like GoBuster. Let's go back into the terminal here, and I'm going to bring that up to the top, and we can use GoBuster-H. If you don't already have GoBuster installed, go ahead and click on the link above. But what we're going to be doing here with GoBuster is going to be this directory/file enumeration mode. And all we have to add for that is going to be the URL. We can do GoBuster and then dir-h, and you can see those strings of everything we're going to provide for the specific flags. I'm going to type GoBuster dir-u, put in our HTTP address, so http://, put in our IP address. -w is going to be our word list that we put in, and we can do that at user share word list. Let's just use the dirbuster word list, and let's use the directory list 2.3 small.txt. And now specifically, I want to look for a file extension that has been consistent with this web page. So to give a specific file extension, we're going to do the -x flag, and we're going to look for PHP, as this is where we're able to find the login and hopefully the uploads or something of that nature for our specific web shell that we uploaded. Press enter on that, and let's let this run. And I'm gonna let GoBuster keep going in the background to see if it finds anything else interesting, but we do see that we have a /uploads. If we go into Firefox, we have our login page here. Let's try going to /uploads. Press enter, and we are forbidden on this, but we do know that there is actually something behind this firewall. So now what I'm going to do is try to request our shell.php page and have a listener open on our terminal for it to receive that request from the server looking for that shell.php. Let's go back in. I'm going to stop GoBuster that we have running here. Let's go back to the top, and I'm going to do a netcat-nlvp, and we put it on port 1337. Press enter, and we're going to have netcat listening right now. Go back into Firefox. So we know that we need to be within the /uploads directory, have a / at the end of this, and our specific file name was shell.php. Press enter on that, and we can see that our web page is actually hanging here. So if I go into our terminal, we actually have connection into our Oopsie box as an Ubuntu user. Here is our UID, get ID, and groups. Now we have a reverse shell, but there is a command that we can go ahead and enter. This is something that you'll want to save because it's something you will use in future tests indefinitely, but it's going to be Python 3-c with import pty.spawn bin bash, and this is going to give us a bash shell script. Now, as user for www-data, we are going to have a ton of restrictions. We're not going to be able to access a lot of the files, but what we can do is actually use our accessibility within the web server, accessing everything on the var www HTML directory to see if there's maybe something hard-coded within the source code that would be very interesting to us. So we're going to cd over into var/www-html. Hit ls on that, and we can see that we have the cdn-cgi, fonts, images, there's an index.php. So I'm going to go ahead and use the grep command to search everything within those directories recursively to see if there's something that would be very interesting for us, such as a password. Now to read everything, we're going to do the cat command, and we're going to do a star or asterisk, as this is the wildcard to read everything that's within the listed directory. Then we're going to pipe this, and we're going to do grep tac I to ignore case sensitivity. And we're going to do R to recursively search through everything. And then we're going to start giving it something that would be interesting for us. So we can give it something like password, PWD, or maybe log on to see if there's something interesting for us. But I'm just going to do pass W just to kind of get a general gloss over. This may invoke a lot of noise, but we'll see if there is anything there. As you can see from our search, we do have a lot that is within there. Like I said, this probably was going to create a lot of noise, but the good news for us is that we do know that there is something there. So now it may just be a matter of us trying to refine this down to something that's more specific for us. So we know that within CDN -CGI, that was where the logon page was. So let's cd over into that, and there is our logon page. So maybe let's try rerunning our cat star and then pipe it out to grep tac ir, and what we're looking for was pass w. Let's look in there, and we can see right there on our login/index.php we have a username of admin with the password of megacorp_4admin ! Now at this point we do know that there is an admin username, but there's also a possibility that somebody else may be reusing that password elsewhere. So if I want to, I could do cat/etsy/password, and there is our password user list, and one of the interesting people is going to be Robert right here as a created user. There's a possibility that maybe he reused that same admin password elsewhere. I'm going to go ahead and copy this password here, and since we know that Robert was an admin user, why don't we go ahead and do su to invoke a pseudo user, and then let's put in Robert. Press enter. It's going to ask for Robert's password. Let's paste this in and hope it works. Unfortunately, Robert did not reuse that password, at least for that username. So we're going to have to go search elsewhere to see if there is anything else that could be valuable to us. Let's ls, and we see that we have nothing but login. So let's go ahead and back out of this directory, ls again. And actually what got me thinking here, if we look at the username list from that password file, we can see that we have MySQL, which means that there is probably a database file. So why don't we actually go back into cdn-cgi, and let's go into login and ls, and we have a couple of database. Why don't we go ahead and cat out that db.php and see what is in there. Oops. It would help if I could spell. Let's try cat db.php. I am struggling typing today. And right there we have a MySQLi_connect user with Robert and Mega Corp user ! This could be Robert's new password that's being stored within the database. So once again, why don't we go ahead and try doing su Robert. Press enter. It's going to ask for the password. So let's go ahead and copy that, paste that in. Press enter, and we are now in as Robert. To get that user flag, we are just going to do cat/home/robert/user.txt, and there is our user flag needed for Robert. Now that we have access as Robert, why don't we check to see what kind of administrative privileges he has. So if I just do sudo-l to list the different privileges we have, we need the passwords, paste that in. And it says, sorry, user Robert may not run sudo on Oopsie. This is completely fine for us. Let's go ahead and type ID to see what kind of groups he's in. And we can see from groups, he is a part of the bug tracker group. Now, I'm not sure where bug tracker is located, so why don't we do the find command, and then we're going to do a slash in front. This is going to be where you start looking within your find command. So putting a slash is going to begin all the way at the root directory. So this should search everything within the Oopsie box. And then we're going to call what it is we're looking for. So we're going to look for bug tracker. And then we're going to get a lot of noise if I were to just press enter on this. Now, what's something very valuable to us within the find command is we can send everything that does not have an actual value for us over to a file in and of itself, being the dev null file. So you do a to and then send the file over to dev null. Now I got a whole lot of noise when I search for that. Let's do find and start in the root directory again. And let's do tat group because we're going to look specifically for the group of bug tracker and not necessarily a file. And then let's send everything that's not important to us over to dev null. Press enter on that. And it was able to find one location, being the user bin bug tracker. Now we can try to see what kind of privileges that Robert has in this. Let's do ls tac la, and that's going to be over at user bin bug tracker. Then let's add a secondary command. We can do a double and sign, and we can do the command of file, and this will kind of describe the file type that it is. So we can do file user bin bug tracker. Press enter on that. Now remember, every kind of set of privileges is going to be within a 3 set, and we're going to read that as read, write, execute. So we can see that we have a dash, meaning the admin does not have the ability to execute this, but it can read and write. And then we're going to skip over the S for now. We can see that we have read, no write, execute, read, no write, no execute. But this S right here is something that is super interesting to us. What this S indicates is a SUID, or a set owner user ID. This means for us that anytime that this file is ran, it will be executed as the assigned user and not as the individual user running it. Now, if the file owner didn't have the ability to actually run this file, it would be a capital S. But since this is lowercase, that means that whoever has this assigned file will be able to execute it as that user. For us, in our case, we can see that root actually owns bug tracker. Since this is an executable file, why don't we go ahead and just try to run /user/bin/bug tracker. And it's asking us to provide a specific bug ID. Let's just give it something arbitrary like 12. And we can see that there is no such root report that has the bug tracker ID of 12. Well, it looks like it's actually trying to execute the cat command, which means we may be able to exploit this. In order to start this exploit, what we need to do is actually go into a writable directory for us, and that's going to be the temp directory. Temp is read writable for all users that are on a device. So what we need to do next is actually try to create a file called cat so we can have it try to execute this command as opposed to actually reading as it's supposed to do. Sorry, I had my box die, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up again for us. Let's try finding shell.php, and it doesn't look like it's going to be able to find it, which means we're probably going to have to rename our shell. So let's go back. Let's just name it something completely different. Upload that. And now if we were to go back in and let's try doing uploads /shell.php. And it's hanging again, which means we should have access again. Let me go ahead and grab that. Let me add that command to make sure we are within bash. All right, so let's do su Robert. Let's put in his password. And now we are within Robert. Let's cd over into temp. All right, so now let's go ahead and try to create our file here. So we're going to do echo, and we want to make this echo bin/sh because this is going to create a new shell, and we're going to make this into our cat command here in the temporary folder. Now, if I hit ls, we can see that we have cat. If I were to cat, we can see that it says /bin/sh. What we need to do next is a chmod plus x to make this executable, and we're going to make it for cat. So now cat is executable. If I do ls tac la, we can see for cat, we have the x within our permission set flags. The next step for this is going to be changing the way that cat actually works on this box. To do this, what we're going to be doing is changing what's called the path variable. What path does is it defines what directories are to be searched in order to execute that specific variable. So what I want to do is actually type in export because I want this to be executed within the directory that we are in. So we're going to do export. Path is going to be the variable that we set. Do equals. Do /tmp as that's what's going to be directed to, and then we do $$ as this is what's going to indicate a variable, and then all uppercase path. Press enter on that, and we do see that the command was executed. If you'd like to check, you can do echo $path. Press enter, and we can see right there that the temp directory is now executed within our executable directories for path. Since bug tracker was within the bin directory, simply put, if I just type in bug tracker, we know that it would execute the cat, but since we changed our directory into the temp directory and denoted this within our path, if I press enter on this, it wants us to provide a bug ID. This doesn't even matter at this point. I'm just going to type in a number, press enter, and it executed us as a bin shell because our new path was assigned as that. As you can see right here at the bottom, we now have the $, which indicates we are the root user. If I type who am I, it does indeed say root. I totally forgot we overrode our cat command, so let's go ahead and do vim root.txt, and there is our root flag right there. Now let's go back in and answer these hack the box questions. With what kind of tool can intercept web traffic? That would be a proxy. What is the path to the directory on the web server that returns a login page? That is /cdn-cgi/login. What can be modified in Firefox to get access to the upload page? That was our cookie. What is the access ID of the admin user? That was 34322. On uploading a file, what directory does that file appear in on the server? That was /uploads that we found via GoBuster. What is the file that contains the password that is shared with the robot user? That was the db.php. What executable is run with the option tac group bug tracker to identify all files owned by the bug tracker group? That was find command. Regardless of which user starts running the bug tracker executable, what user privileges will use to run? That was our root user, indicated by the lowercase s. What does SUID stand for? That is set owner user ID. What is the name of the executable being called in the insecure manner? That was cat. And then we have to submit our user flag and submit our root flag, and that will have completed the Oopsie box. Knowing different file permission sets is going to be very key in looking for those vulnerabilities that may not have been set. While admins can do a very good job specifying least privilege for a specific user, tracking all of those files can definitely be a lot for any kind of admin. Use those to your advantage when you're working with your pen tests. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.